Driverless Car, the final chapter. Chapter 9. The Last Ride. Oh. They sent me the same Jag they sent me in DD, I said to myself as the car pulled up to my house. Nice. It kinda caught me off guard a little because the car looked familiar when it pulled up. And it was the same black driverless Jaguar XE. Garbed in my professional attire, a fortress of pinstripes against my rising anxiety, I dialed DD. I requested her robotic chauffeur service, an autonomous vehicle to rush me to work. I assured her that cost was no object, for my pockets ran as deep as my desperation. Thoughts of Bess Turner twisted my insides like a merciless blender, transforming my confidence into a sour cocktail of dread. In an act of self-preservation, I evaded the news, unwilling to face the monster I had birthed last night. In the sanctuary of my garage, under a cloak of secrecy, I painstakingly washed my car. Every crimson speckle that marred its surface was a damning finger pointed at me. With the meticulousness of a surgeon, I erased each drop of Bess from my ride, transforming it back into an innocent participant in my life. The night would serve as my accomplice, as I plotted to slip my car into the dealership under the cover of darkness. An Uber ride would then spirit me back into the safety of my home, unseen by prying neighborhood eyes. By dawn, my car, bearing its scars, would be waiting at the dealership like an abandoned soldier, ready to be tended to by the morning crew. So I opened the door, threw my briefcase on the other side behind the driver's seat, and got in. After a few seconds of the car acknowledging that I was in it, it pulled off. I let out a weary exhale, the weight of the world nestled squarely on my sagging shoulders. Time seemed to race on wings of urgency that morning, pushing me on an unending treadmill. The unsavory cocktail of fear and regret left me sleep-starved, chasing me through dreams into the depths of exhaustion. In the theater of my subconscious, Bess replayed her deadly ballet across the hood of my car. Over and over, she soared through the twilight, a grim superheroine twisted in a grotesque spin 50 feet through the void. Attempting to shake the haunting images, I reclined, allowing the car's plush seat to cradle me. My iPad flickered to life, offering an island of normalcy in a sea of chaos. Fingers ghosting over the screen, I navigated to the meeting notes, immersing myself in the mundane business facts that felt like a lifeline in this tumultuous bullshit that I was in. As the autonomous car smoothly navigated its way down Rod Court and performed a seamless U-turn, my focus was ostensibly on my notes. Yet, my fingers trembled like an autumn leaf in the wind, making the lines of text blur and merge together. It felt as though my thoughts were locked in a fierce tug-of-war, the chilling dread of jail time wrestling with the specter of Bess that haunted my every moment. The car slid silently out of the confines of my neighborhood, my eyes drifted upwards, surreptitiously glancing back at my house. What I saw made my heart stutter in my chest. My eyes widened, feeling like they might leap out of their sockets in shock. There, as if my fear had taken on a metallic form, was another vehicle drawing up to my house. A black Jaguar XE, its sleek form menacing and predatory, mirroring the one that was whisking me away. It came to a halt right in my driveway, an unwanted visitor etching its presence into my morning painting of my life. It must be a mistake. They must have sent two cars by accident. That's strange. By the time we passed my house, I already had my phone out, calling DD. I looked back at the other car and it was sitting in front of my house waiting for me. It must just be a simple misunderstanding. In an instant, the car lurched forward, gunning down Ciro Estates Drive with an unexpected ferocity that jolted me out of my seat. My pulse rocketed as if on a roller coaster's plummet, the fright half-throttling me. On one hand, the phone was pressed against my ear, the dull hum of the dial tone like a warning siren, awaiting DD's voice to puncture the silent anxiety. On the other hand, my fingers were knotted around the door handle, clinging with a white-knuckle desperation that matched the wild beat of my heart. "Excuse me." My voice vaulted into the air, trembling with the vehemence of my plea. "If anyone's monitoring, could you please, oh please, command the car to decelerate?" I hit the button for the window to come down, and the damn thing wouldn't open. I looked at the steering wheel as if someone was sitting behind it. Hello, car? Can you hear? Of course the car couldn't hear me. It wasn't paying me any attention because it was a car, not a human being. Could you take me back to my house, please? Rather than returning to my sanctuary, the car surged onward, barreling towards Zero Estates Drive at a dizzying speed. It halted abruptly with such ruthless force that I was almost catapulted past the front seat, narrowly avoiding an intimate encounter with the windshield. Frantic, I latched onto the seatbelt, fumbling with the buckle. The urgency of the situation rendered each movement as vital as strapping on a parachute seconds before plunging from a soaring airplane. When Dee answered the phone, I said, Dee, could you please call the company, the car service that sent this car? Already concerned, she said. What's the problem? This damn car is scaring the hell out of me. It's driving too damn fast. Dee cracked up laughing. Girl, as fast as you drive. You got the nerve to be complaining. Wait a minute, hold on. What's wrong? This is them calling me now. Hold on. Excuse me. Car. Can you please slow down? Hello. Dee got back on the phone with me. Candace, what are you doing? The car is sitting outside waiting for you. Yeah, that must be the other car they sent. Dee paused for a moment. What other car? Dee, they must have sent 2 cars. Candace, that was them that just called, wondering where you're at. They say you haven't gotten in the car yet. But I'm in the first car they sent. I think they sent 2 cars by accident. Dee paused again. 2 cars? They don't send 2 cars, Candace. I started looking around, turning every which way, about to panic. Dee, what's going on? Girl, you in the wrong car. But how could I be in the wrong car when the car I'm in stopped in front of my house and waited for me? It's the same car you sent for us for lunch. Let me find out what's going on. I'll call you back. Okay. Call me back. Instead of making a left and then another left on Autumnwood to get to Fort Washington Road, which was faster, the car made a right on Zero and headed for Riverview Road, the long way. The way I did not need to go. I wonder if poor Bess is still lying dead in the woods by the farm? I leaned toward the driver's seat as if it had a driver sitting in it. Excuse me, I said. You're going the wrong way, car. This is the long way to Fort Washington Road. The car sped off, pinning me to the back seat, headed for Riverview Road. This car needs to slow down, I said. They should have had a person communicating with the passengers in case there was an emergency. The car came to another hard stop at the stop sign. Now I'm hanging on for dear life. Recalculating, the GPS said. I said, recalculating? What the hell is going on? 2 miles until you have reached your destination, the GPS said. The autonomous chariot bolted down the weather-beaten asphalt of Riverview Road. With an abrupt swerve, it veered left onto Swan Creek Road, its tires screaming in protest. The vehicle careened perilously, appearing to balance on the razor edge of 2 wheels as it contorted around the corner. The car sped down Swan Creek Road. It felt like it was going 100, so fast I screamed so loud I thought I pissed my pants. It was like the roller coaster ride from hell. Crying and looking around for my phone, I said, "What the fuck is going on?" I looked all around for my phone. On the floor, under the seats, between the seats. Of all places I found my phone under my ass because I was sitting on it. And as frightened as I was lucky the crack of my ass didn't swallow up both the phone and the seat with it. As the rogue vehicle bit into the curve of Fort Washington Road, it executed a right turn as abrupt as a guillotine's drop. I was flung side to side in the back seat as though it was a greased skillet, screeching out a symphony of screaming, crying, and cursing my ass off. The horror unfolded around me like a grotesque, three-dimensional nightmare materializing from the shadows of my deepest fears. I called Dee Dee back, and she didn't answer. Probably busy with an assignment at work. But I left her a message, you can bet that. Dee Dee, I said, screaming. This car they sent me is going out of control, speeding, about to have an accident. Call me back, or call them to tell the damn car to stop and let me the hell out of here. My head was now on a swivel, looking around to see if there were any drivers around to see how erratically the car was flying down Fort Washington, hoping they would call the police. But when I looked back, I saw a police cruiser turning onto Fort Washington Road a few blocks behind us. When I saw the police light come on, I prayed this cop was going to pull the damn car over for speeding. This is when the car sped up, going faster to outrun the cops. When I looked at the speedometer, the hand was moving past 100 miles an hour. I screamed so loud my voice almost tore the roof off the car. Shedding the restraint of my seatbelt, I kicked off my stiletto heels, their clicks echoing my rising panic. I climbed into the front seat, grasping for the steering wheel as though it were a lifeline in a torrential sea. But it was a false hope. The wheel was as unyielding and unresponsive as stone, autonomously navigating as if under a malevolent spell. The car itself, it seemed, had transformed into an unguided phantom, obstinately marching to the rhythm of its own eerie dance. Heading toward Fort Washington Park, the car made a sharp left on L'Enfant Drive. Then a sharp right on Washington Drive. Then another sharp left onto Diggs Lane. At last, the rogue chariot veered onto the familiar path of Washington Terrace, crawling halfway down the thoroughfare before it abruptly halted, idling in the road center like a predator sizing up its prey. As my gaze darted ahead to the house anchoring the cul-de-sac's end, an anomaly captured my entire focus, extinguishing all other thoughts and fears. My God, is that Eric? The name escaped my lips like a whispered prayer against the throbbing drum of my heartbeat. Indeed, it was Eric. Emerging from this fortress of secrecy, his hand interlaced with that of another woman. Their faces wore matching smiles, radiant and insufferably content, as if they were basking in their own private sunrise. Evidently, Eric remained oblivious to the grim fate that had befallen Bess, still lying discarded by the roadside. Perhaps he had sought solace in this woman's arms overnight, or maybe this was a macabre celebration of Bess's demise. A toast to her death, not with me, his familiar confidant, but with another woman. Each speculation twisted the knife deeper, a waltz of betrayal danced out in front of me. Bastard! So that's why he didn't want to commit. Wait a damn minute, what? Who on earth was this mystery woman sharing space with Eric? And why was he emerging from what seemed to be her house, his hand cradled in hers as if they were intimate poems penned for one another, their eyes locked in a gaze that spoke volumes of whispered love? The way she peered up into his eyes, it was as if she saw galaxies in them, drowning in a sea of devotion and tenderness. And more importantly, why did the car take me there instead of taking me to work? As if the car knew that Eric, that lying bastard, was having an affair with this woman. Eric and his enigmatic lady friend were so engrossed in their private world, they seemed oblivious to my presence or the audacious car I was trapped in. She sauntered alongside Eric, their hands twined, to his flaming red Dodge Charger GT, as vibrant as a forbidden apple. There, they paused, lips merging again in a kiss that lingered, reminiscent of the timeless climax of a silver screen love story. The piercing wail of sirens was inching ever closer, slicing through the morning like a distress call. I found myself sending up a silent plea that they were headed towards me, assuming I was the rogue driver of the unmanned vehicle about to issue me a citation. I prayed for them to be my unexpected knights, swooping in to save me from this relentless, demon-possessed machine. Suddenly, like an untamed creature unleashed, the car sprang into action, going from 0 to 60 in a terrifying heartbeat. It roared towards Eric and his companion with merciless precision. I shrieked, slamming my foot onto the stubborn brakes, throwing my elbow against the unresponsive door in a hopeless attempt at escape. Only a hair's breadth away, Eric and his mystery woman became aware of the mechanical predator barreling towards them. Their eyes ballooned in terror, mirroring the frightful scene playing out in their final moments, but the jaws of destiny had already clamped shut. The car struck them with a force similar to a rampaging bull, crushing them between its metallic body and Eric's parked Charger, snuffing out their lives in one dreadful, breathless instant. The airbag detonated with the force of a miniature supernova, battering me like an unrelenting ram, shattering my nose with a crunch that shot into my skull. Blood splattered everywhere, like an abstract crimson artwork splashed across the car's interior. Dazed and disoriented, I was lost in a haze of shock and pain, immobilized in the wake of the chaos. "You have arrived at your destination," the GPS said, voice soothing as ever. Moments later, I heard a man's voice yelling, "Out of the car with your hands up! Out of the car with your hands up!" In my stunned state, I noticed the glove compartment had spewed its contents onto the passenger seat, as if in the torment of some violent chaos. Among the scattered debris, an item caught my eye, freezing my blood in its tracks. It was Bess's registration and insurance documents, sitting there in the disarray like an ominous warning. The realization struck me then, a shower of boulders in an avalanche of terror. I was in Bess Turner's car. What? All of a sudden, a police officer hauled me out of the vehicle and hurled me onto the blood-stained pavement, nearly submerging in the gory pools that originated from both Eric and his secret lover. My eyes met those of a young PG County officer, his face crinkling in revulsion at the sight as he forcefully pressed me into the ground and twisted my arms behind me to snap on the handcuffs. I attempted to lift my face from the grisly puddle, straining to avoid the taste of my illicit lover's life essence and that of his sneaky partner, silently pleading for the officer to flip me over onto my back. He remained deaf to my silent pleas. As the officer's voice mechanically recited my rights, the truth crashed into me like a train off its tracks. It was Bess's vehicle that had arrived to transport me, not the one dispatched by DD. Naturally, they condemned me to a life behind iron bars, accused of the chilling murders of Bess and Eric Turner and his hushed-up lover, a woman by the name of Colleen Hoffman. Upon searching my residence, they stumbled upon my car, as conspicuous as a scar, leading them to pin the charges of a hit and run and murder for Bess Turner's untimely demise on me. They even tacked on the accusation of theft, alleging that I had stolen Bess's car and wielded it as a lethal weapon against her spouse and his concealed mistress, despite having zero tangible proof that I had committed the act of theft. Sure, the intrusive eyes of security cameras had captured the silhouette of Bess's car emerging from her garage, but the secretive tint of the windows rendered it impossible to discern the identity of the driver, or even if a human was at the controls at all. My legal counsel put forth the evidence that Bess's vehicle was one of those avant-garde self-driving models. However, this detail did nothing to alleviate my situation, considering they had found me, hands clutching the wheel, when the car morphed into a metallic beast, ramming into Eric and his concealed companion, Colleen Hoffman, effectively beheading her. The jury sculpted a narrative painting me as the cliché of a scorned woman, seething with jealousy and rage that Eric Turner didn't sever his marital bonds to nestle into my arms. Members from both Bess and Eric's circle stepped forward to bear witness against me, claiming to the jury that Bess had confided in them about my insistent pursuit of Eric. Eric's comrades admitted that he had boasted about his kaleidoscope of illicit liaisons with women, a list that included me and Colleen. The motive, in this case, was like a neon sign, glaring and unavoidable. Tears carved paths down the faces of my parents and family as the officers bore me away towards the unending nightmare of prison life. Contrarily, a victorious cheer erupted from the assembly of the victim's kin and companions. As they whisked me away, I was struck by a couple of revelations. That Bess's car, in some unfathomable, mystifying manner, had become the vessel of her wrathful spirit, orchestrating the chilling end of Eric and Colleen while simultaneously framing me for the brutal acts. There was no other plausible explanation but that Bess's spirit had taken over her vehicle, leading to my apprehension for her murder. The second revelation was a biting understanding of the term karma. Turns out, karma proved to be a far fiercer bitch than I could ever aspire to be.